Hi everyone, it's Nix here. I've just finished work at this very desk. I work from home. I've been writing script all day. And we've also had the election results today. I won't get political, but I'm feeling a little bit frazzled, to say the least. And I haven't prepared anything for my video today, but I did think I'd rather fancy just going through some decks to unwind. I've got myself a nice cup of herbal tea. I live in an area with, I'm very fortunate here in North London to have lots of different ethnic influences, and we have a fantastic Turkish community, which means you can get all these lovely herbal teas, fairly inexpensive as well, £2.79, because you just need a pinch. This has got lavender in it, and what else does it say? Lemon balm, bud rose, pomegranate flowers, chamomile, lavender, black head grass. I think that must be some of the black head grass there. I do make some of my own teas when I get the time to dehydrate the herbs, but these are just so beautiful, and I don't have all of those things available to me, so it's nice to make that. So I'm just going to let that steep a bit. And the deck that I thought I would pair in response to Nova Mundi's tag that she uses, pair this deck, is the Rose Tarot, which I'm started working with at the moment for the second decan of Taurus. I thought I would just give you a little background on what he says about developing this deck, because it's kind of interesting. You look at it and you think, oh, it must be part of all the occult movements of the Golden Dawn and so forth. But actually what he's trying to do is harken back to a time before all that emerged. And he says the impulse behind the creation of the Rose Tarot was born of certain researches into reaches of Western esoteric wisdom that have been literally eclipsed or occulted by the popular tendencies and phenomena of 19th and 20th century occultism. It says, inspired primarily by Jacob Boehme, Jane Ledd, who I'd not heard of, Emanuel Swedenborg and William Blake, I've heard of the other ones, this body of Christian esoteric hermetic law and practice in the West represents a hidden spiritual and artistic inheritance. So he says, during the Middle Ages and Renaissance, the tarot always conventionally depicted a salvation cycle, and unfolding these motifs on esoteric levels to trace the journey towards spiritual reintegration forms the basis of the Rose Tarot. In this light, the guiding impulse and spiritual intelligence behind this artistic work and its manifestation may be understood as the angel of the Rose Tarot. So, this angel, I am going to go through it now and pick some decks and see how they work alongside it. Now the Knave of Cups, he's on the top. He keeps turning up in my card pulls from this deck, and he is represented by Lahir. I think that's how you say it, French. He was in one of Joan of Arc, Saint Joan of Arc, who was famously burnt at the stake, who had the visions. He was one of her most loyal commanders of the armies that she was using as part of her contribution to the 100 Years' War. So I think that's all about loyalty, perhaps a little naivety, but certainly dedication and spiritual love. So let's get this one out, and I'll just show you, as this is just more about decks. I've put on my dressing gown here, guys, nice and cozy. I'll just show you these backs. Really lovely, and I love this cardstock as well. It's just a beautiful. It's just a beautiful deck. This is all proper art as well. Looks a bit like an eye, doesn't it, with that rose in it, a bit of an iris. bit of red eye. That's what I've got at the moment after sitting on my laptop for quite a few hours trying to be creative and not look at the news too much because it was, anyway, less of that. So I'm going to take my little steepy thing out. This is one of my handmade cups when I was doing my pottery, which I've stopped for now, but I might get back to it at some point. And a little handmade bowl, which I rather like that one. Oh, I've dropped a bit of tea, but anyway. So let's get on with this. I've not done one of these, just let's have a look at deck videos before. And the first one I've got, I thought I'd try Spirit Song, which is another deck I worked with earlier in the year. And it's all animals, really, with these sort of, I guess, sort of shamanistic in a way. Mass market deck. Oh, look, shamanistic. And the first card that I've left on there is shaman. It has a couple of little keywords on there too. Divine wisdom, spiritual power. I'm just going to put them side by side and have a look through. Knight of Feathers and the Chariot. Sanctuary Rest. Oh, that's what I feel like I need. And the Wheel. A bat for Queen of Feathers. That's interesting. She chooses feathers for the suits. And this is a pip deck, this Rose Tarot, but an illustrated pip deck. So within these little sort of volval shapes, not sure if that's the right word, but that's one I'm going to use. You've got these little drawings. Playing her stringed instrument there. The Star and the Star. Well, that's rather lovely. Peace and healing. Apparently the star is based on Isis, because star used to show just when the Nile flooded and it would bring fertility to the land. It was thought to be Isis in Egypt. Judith as Queen of Cups and the Moon. And the Moon there, and Nine of Shells, gratitude, fulfillment. That's your nightmares in front of the full moon. And a prickly thing there. Unicorn and a kangaroo. I think the colours kind of go, because this is a bit more, got more red in it, and this is green. And somehow they look kind of pleasant together, I think. Oh. Logic, justice. There's Temperance there. That's very alchemical. There's a lot of alchemical references in the Rose Tarot. All about the combination of elements in a sort of spiritual journey. And there's lots of themes of, like, you know, combination, the fiery elements, things that have to wait. Ooh, the 10 of Crystals. Stability and attainment for that rather scary to many creature. There's a Starry Justice. Oh, I love this. This is so far Year of the Fire Horse, isn't it? I think shout that one out to Moomin Tarot, because I know that Ellen loves her horses. And her deck that's all horses for the Year of the Fire Horse. That one's rather lovely. Optimism and innovation. I do like the style of this this deck. Nova Mundi is has such a talent for aesthetically choosing decks that go together. This is I tend to choose things more for theme, but I thought I would have a go at thinking more about what they might look like together as well, but also that things that will balance each other out and offer different things, because this is obviously very peoply and this has got the animals. Foresight, exploration, and the world. Perhaps suggesting a bit of travel, or maybe the world needs to have a bit more foresight, who knows. Icarus there. Preparation, well, yeah, they did do their preparation, but didn't quite follow it through properly. Oh, union and harmony, beautiful. And let's have a look at a different deck. So that was with some animals. And now I'm going to bring some plant energy in. The Herbal Tarot. One of them is a herbalist and then the other is artist, I believe. And I'll have a sip of my herbal tea before I start flicking through. That's good. It's still quite warm. I'm the person that doesn't like to drink my drinks too hot. I know when I was in Iran, they do drink things very scalding in terms of temperature. Certainly around the Caspian, which is where I was. And apparently there's a high incidence of esophageal cancer, which may well be related to that. So I say, don't drink your tea too scalding. Oh, look at that Empress. There's some quite unusual plants in this. And there's ones that I know, like sage, obviously. And there is a sage, isn't it? The wisdom of sage. And then there's some others. Oh, now that reminds me. Does anyone remember The Joy of Sex? It was a book around, I think my parents may have had a copy, rather embarrassingly, or people that they knew did, and the guy had a rather full moustache. I don't know, there's just something about that. Those two guys in the parsley. Giant parsley or very small lovers there, or perhaps they're fairy people. The Chariot. I might just speed on to some of the pips. Oh, yes, that I was feeling like that at one point today. This news was coming in. 10 of Wands. And there's the 2 of Wands. Prickly ash bark. Sassafras. I think that's used in a drink, isn't it? David, King David. Hawthorn. And of course the hawthorn is all in bloom at the moment. Well, it's sort of been in bloom for a little while, also known as the Mayflower, because all those white flowers are associated with the May Queen and Beltane, and it is in the rose family, just as this deck is called the Rose. All turmeric. Fennel. Now I believe it was giant fennel stalk that Prometheus hid fire in to give to humanity, to give the fire to humanity. I've often wondered if the wands or the batons with that hollow stalk you often get is maybe meant to be that hollow stalk that Prometheus gave the fire to, because it is also the fire element, isn't it, associated with. yarrow. Now, yarrow has a lot of copper in it, which is under the planet of Venus, which is also associated with copper. And copper can help speed up your composting, as well as help be a bit of an anti-fungal and so forth on wounds. I think because it inhibits the fungus, and so it helps some bacteria thrive, so that does something to the compost. I'm not quite sure, but I know you also put copper on the bottom of boats as an anti-foul, and it's actually quite toxic to certain marine life, so it's a bit controversial in that respect. Oh, and there's a beautiful 10 of cups with a rainbow. Marijuana. Well, I've never really been into that, you know. I won't say I've never tried it, but yeah, it's, I know some people love it, but I've not really ever got that into that sort of thing. Perhaps a bit too imaginative anyway, without having to go off down those paths. So that's the herbal tarot. Oh, it's just a bit all over the place, guys. I am a bit, what's the word? Frazzled from working. Because I've had a bit of a break contract-wise, and then I'm back on a job that I tend to do every year. And it's fantastic. It's lovely to catch up with people, but I just have to get back into my rhythm of what I'm doing. And this is the Sacred Rose Tarot, which is one of my favourite decks and reads really well. This is from the 80s, I think, if I recall correctly. Someone that Stuart Kaplan knew and met, and she was an artist. I think she started designing them when she was like a teenager, but then it took her a few years to finish the whole thing. Let's maybe not start with sort. Is this in order? No, it's not in order, so that's good. And the backs on this are got all these roses which have different meanings. That's the mysterious rose, white rose of purity, and so forth. There's Lancelot with the Ace of Swords, rather appropriate. It's a rather Arthurian combination, isn't it? Lancelot and the Ace of Swords. And I really like the style of this deck, because it has these faces, but they somehow manage to be expressive, but not overwhelming, because I do find too many close-up faces with too many big kind of, you know, in-your-face faces can be a bit exhausting to look at. It's okay if you're doing 1 or 2 cards, but if you're doing a bigger spread, I find, and it also doesn't give that much more information other than just the expression. Strength, look at that lovely strength, they sort of meld together. And there's all this sense of sparkles. And I know some people don't like borders, but I actually really like this border. It reminds me of another deck I saw recently, I think on the Hermit's Cave. I meant to say, oh, that looks like Sacred Rose, but I can't remember what it was now. To me, the border gives it this sort of portal feeling. And then you have this kind of clean connection, I find, to the energy of the image with the white border. I'd rather not have the copyright in the corner, but, you know, you can't have everything, can you? Look at that hermit. Look at his face. With his crook and his lamp. Love that. And stepping in that purple sort of sea. Just love that hermit. And look, I mean, the light of it. It's just absolutely the atmosphere of that. Yeah, I love reading with this deck. Oh, look at him. See what I mean about the faces? They're sort of, they're somehow expressive, but there's not too much. There's just enough detail. And the body language is very expressive. I do like to see the body language and not just the face. Because you know how body language can sometimes say more. That's quite an unusual 3 of Cups, isn't it? Because it's just got the one person. But then, if you look in the hair, it's kind of like a bull's face. don't know. It's sort of like head shapes in the hair. And giving a bit of a modesty cloak as well. Strife there. See the hands grabbing. That reminds me a bit of this William Blake. See that with the child, and then there's this William Blake, which is about the good and bad angels. And I think that's meant to represent Milton, who's the blind poet. But that angel's taking the child. But you think, initially you think, well, that's the bad angel. But then you think, actually, is that the bad angel? Is that one taking the child, and they're trying to, with their wings outstretched, get the child, but they've been chained? I don't know. It reminds me a little bit thematically. And the sun behind there, the rising sun. Yeah, the good and evil angels, in fact. It's just done around the turn of the 18th and 19th century. Oh, I mustn't get too long on these, because honestly, I see other people do these and they go much quicker, and I get distracted by all the details. Oh, dear me. And you're probably going, look, just stop wittering on. We just want to see the pictures. What shall I do next? I think I'm going to move to another pit deck, which is the beautiful Squid Cake Marseille by Jess Roller. Now, I bought this for myself almost as a joke. I thought that it was sort of a child, you know, bought for my inner child. I thought it would just be a bit of fun. And then I found it to be actually a really, really good reader. And the cards are just this smaller size. And we've got another flower motif. That you can lay out quite a few cards. And just like these little blue figures. Again, they've just got the right amount of expression without being too overwhelming. In fact, I might just put like more than one out there just to see how they lay out. They're just really cool. The Two of Cups, kind of ghost fish there, aren't they? The Fool, Queen of Coins. I should really turn some of these over. Eight of Cups. The Lovers. That reminds me a bit of that meme, you know, that it's a bit of the sexist meme with the guy with his girlfriend and his head's being turned by someone else. And looks like octopus talons there, or talons? Tentacles there. Gosh, honestly, my brain. Love that Chariot. And I love this little, I don't know if it's intentional, but certainly a hermetic nod with the snails being used as the vehicles of transport. And JR there. Jess Roller. So cute. Fun, but it also reads. That's the thing. It's not just novelty. There's the hen. You get these recurring creatures. The Star, she's pouring both of her vessels into the water, not one on the land. I quite like the way these look together. The Three of Swords and the Sun. Sun with a girl and a boy, not two boys. There's the old Knave of Cups again. Knight of Cups. Yeah, I do tend to get a lot of cups. I don't know, do I just notice the cups? But cups come up for me a lot, and I am a water sign, so who knows? That King of Cups has got rather patched up knees, hasn't he? He's still the King of Cups, even though he's recycled his clothes, which is good. The Seven and the Star. Oh, this is one of my favourite cards of this deck. This little Knight of Batons on the snail. It's so cute. And obviously they're a bit fairy-like, aren't they? Because they're much smaller in terms of the size of the snail. Either a giant snail or a tiny little fairy person, which I tend to think it's the latter. Which has got that Alice in Wonderland kind of hint in a way, hasn't it? Hairy devil. He doesn't look that scary, but he's still kind of got them chained up to that log. And I love the shapes, and it is a Marseille, Tarot de Marseille deck with the pips, but you've got a lot of illustrative features which are helpful with fruits and so forth. And flowers, you can see things, spaces that are cut. Now, I tend to think of, when I read pips, it's the geometry that's very important to me. And I think we all have an instinct for geometry. Now, you might not have an instinct for arithmetic, of like, you know, Arabic numerals or whatever, but I think when you see them spaced out, we have a natural affinity. It's like when you go into a lift, you get a sense of where you should stand in relation according to how many other people are already in the lift. If you see a round table, it gives you a different vibe than an oblong table. So it's not just the numbers, it's the relations that they have to each other. And if you think of those almost as little personalities, it's if you look at a family tree, you immediately know, okay, parents and down to that way, or if it goes that way, it means has a different vibe to it, doesn't it? And then there's flowers that have been cut or flowers that still seem to be growing. Flowers that are in bud or flowers that are full. Sometimes flowers that look like they're sort of starting to wilt, or autumnal leaves. All of these things have a different energy, which I think everyone's got intuition about in terms of their associations. So, for example, if a 6 is arranged in 2 triangles, that's quite different to these 2 columns. You've got paths, or sometimes you have crosses. What does a path say, as opposed to something that might be blocking a direction or a crossroads? And I think the main thing is to know that there's no right or wrong, really, when it comes to pips. Because people didn't have guidebooks back then, and they read things in their own different ways. You know, some of them might have had relatives that passed down thoughts to them. Other people wouldn't have done. Again, you've got these different shapes that block off certain features. Smallness compared to largeness. If you look at that, that's a smaller. That's slightly larger. A large thing in a smaller space, and a small thing in a larger space. The Emperor. Again, he's got his patches on his knee, the Emperor. Hermit. Patches. Those patches. Focus. Can't see if that's in focus or not, because honestly my eyes are not in focus. 10 of Cups. A very classic shape of the 9 and this larger grail-like cup above. And that one's just got a drop starting to pour down. Love that eye in the heart, sacred heart, isn't it? In a rainbow line. And the 7 of Cups. Now this is meant to be, I did read about this card, this is a medieval raking of the moon, attempting to rake up the moon. And it was compared to sort of visionary imagination as opposed to sort of delusionary beliefs. Now, where you draw that line is a controversial aspect, isn't it? Because if we're implying that it's delusion to be raking the moon, but something else is a vision, well, who decides that? Anyway, that's the squid cake. Beautiful. And I do love this little box is so cute. Fortunately, mine got a little bit mashed in the delivery, but unless it's really bad, I don't like to send them back because I just think, oh, there's so much landfill, isn't there? It gives it character. And I'm probably going to do something to it anyway, so then I don't have to worry so much about everything being perfect. Look at that little cute thing. Bring a little light-heartedness. Well, it's actually given some quite serious readings for me. So, there's that. Now, let's move on to Tarot de Luz, which I thought colour-wise, see, I can do aesthetics as well as meanings, would be a very good match for this. It's that beautiful, what's it called? Le Fournier cardstock. Fournier. I don't know if it's Le. You know, everyone knows this, probably more than I do. And I really love these pictures. It's very whimsical and yet sort of melancholic at the same time. It's like that happy sad, that kind of music that's like that, you know, that's the minor key that's also kind of sublime. And this has got rather quite a few alchemical kind of implications. Little faces on her cheeks. I've not read with this yet, but I just really like the art. I like the hand-drawn nature of the art. Oh, Seven of Swords upside down. The childlike folk art almost sense of it, and the watercolour feel. The Lovers, Knight of Batons. Look at those deer. They'd be hard to keep on a straight course, I imagine. Or maybe not. That's an interesting hermit card, isn't it? Oh, what's all that about? Anyone got any ideas? I probably should read the guidebook, but have a look at that one. Can't really it's one of those Le Fournier guidebooks, isn't it? That doesn't have much to write home about. Represents the guiding spirit. Yeah, it doesn't say, these don't say anything about the artwork, do they? Which I guess is sort of freeing. Some sort of rattle, I think. Like it's almost shamanistic with wands shoved in it. It's quite alchemical. The snakes and his two-coloured suit. His back's Ouroboros. Yeah, I was obviously having a pink feeling for this evening. That tower's rather whimsical. It's sort of like an overgrown fairy tower. I'm not getting a sense of it's like that's like a ruin that was ruined a long time ago, and the ruin has now got plants growing up it, and it's a bit of a magical place to go and play and let your imagination run. so that's what I'm getting from that tower. It's a rather interesting take. quite a dull palette for the sun. We've got this one little flower of hope down here. Interesting Ace of Wands with the eye. So, yeah, I kind of like that. I don't know, is the artwork going together? This is obviously a bit more naive. Yeah, I think I do like some of the card combinations. That's very elemental. Oh, that's a good combination. I like that. A snake and a lion. Is that a Herculean? Was that one of the tasks of Hercules? Could be making that up. Labours of Hercules. I like these eyes on things. And there's apparently teenage girls in particular like drawing eyes. And I wonder if that's all to do with being a bit self-conscious or something else. You wonder why. The eye. I am an eye. Oh, I know what I might choose next. I love that moon. That's its the moon is this deck's root essence. When I did the deck interview, it said it was the moon. And let's have this Vachetta, as I was saying. I believe Vachetta is the French way, because they made a lot of leather goods which were popular in France, and so the French call it, say, Vachetta. And I did a few fashion, I did film at Couture Week and so forth on my career at various points. So I think I was going a bit French. It's actually Vachetta. Now, what do you think of this? It's quite different colour palette. Maybe this allows the colours of this to shine a bit more. Yeah. I'm not sure about this combination. I'm not sure if the art styles really complement each other. I mean, thematically, you've got a feeling of similar, some sort of similar, you know, not the official occult symbolism, but there's definitely elements where you feel there's a kind of hidden meaning to be found. But yeah, don't know. I'm not sure that's my favourite for those. I feel like this needs to go in a palette that's just similar or something. So I'm not going to spend much time on that one. That was the Naibi of Giovanni Vachetta. And then there's this one, which I think this might go quite well. This was a deck that my dad had, and it came with some book which he doesn't have. I think it was very inexpensive, and you can still pick it up. I will put the name. Somebody did tell me what it was, and I've promptly forgotten because my dad couldn't remember the name. That makes me laugh. I'm not sure if it's intentional, but obviously 4 has a sort of alchemical symbolic meaning. And then it's got the heart there. It looks a bit like 404, doesn't it? As in sort of page not found 404. 4 of battens. And I quite like these together. The cards on this, they're fairly thin, but they're quite nice. So I think it's a sort of my first deck type deck. I think that's what it was intended with the book set that you could get. There's a monkey on that magician's table. Possibly a tote reference, or possibly just our animal nature or silliness. I love that devil. I mean, that's just striking, isn't it? Yeah, I rather like this. Pips. And they're not completely plain pips. They're sort of in scenes, which is interesting. Pentacles. They seem to be having a chat, the Hermit and the Knight of Battens, as he come to the sage for some wise advice on his quest. You know, like the magical person you meet on the quest to give you something, a tip or some object. That's a very fool-like fool as well in this one. Yeah, I'm liking this. There's a sort of purpliness in some of them that kind of goes. Swords and the Queen of Swords. Her owl. Yeah, like it. See the house in the 4 of Wands. Oh, and I do like fish on the 2 of Cups. Dolphins or fish. These are fish, not dolphins, I would say. She's playing away and he's facing the other way. Do you see the wilting vegetation on that one? Or it could be just a bean sprout that's just coming up, but it sort of looks a bit withered, even though it's the 8. Rosy cross. Yeah, definitely would pair these up again, I think. I like the backs as well. It's sort of that almost lino cut, wood cut feel. I'm not sure how it was made, but it's got that feel to it. Let's have a look at this one. Now, this is new to me. I got this, rather excited by this one. It comes in this beautiful bag, Darshani Sukhu. And it's another Indian spiritual deck. I don't think that it was made in India, though, this one. could be wrong, but I don't think so. And it's the lovely Om. It's got these Oms on the back. And I think this one might look rather nice with this. This is beautiful artwork. Just show you the box, which is nice as well. So the yogi sees himself in the heart of all beings and all beings in his heart. And that's Sri Krishna from the Bhagavad Gita. Beautiful. Yeah. Beautiful, beautiful. Ganesha with his little mouse. And that's an interesting chariot, sort of in the distance there. Beautiful, this deck. And the cards are really nice. I must leave a review for this, actually. It did ask for people to leave a review, and I haven't done it yet. So I hadn't actually worked with it yet. So I haven't had time to. I've been working. And I've got my decks that I'm doing in my rotation, which keep me busy enough. My journal is had to be pared down a bit while I'm writing in the day. Wow, this is so gorgeous. Oh, I do love this. I think I'm going to love this deck. It reminds me a little bit, that one, of the Chris Walder Goddess deck, which isn't one I've pulled out to pair here, although it might have been interesting to try, but I wasn't sure. Didn't see, but I just had a bit of a disaster trying to lower my camera because I thought, well, this artwork is so gorgeous. It kind of needs to be seen closer up. But now, of course, the ring light is being a bit annoying. Of course, it's getting a little bit dark. And I told my husband I'd do this in an hour because he's making some dinner for us. Of course, I'm whittering on and getting rather distracted. So I just have to move a little bit faster. That's beautiful. Krishna. Aces, the Ace of Swords and the Ace of Discs. I'm finding this kind of distracting because I'm finding the artwork of that so impactful that I think because I've already worked with this one, it's sort of, I'm just looking at this one. I mean, look at those beautiful flowers. There's little fairies on those as well, which isn't strictly like Hindu stuff. So I think there's a little bit of a hybrid going on here. Speed, the speedy hare on the 8 of Batons. 5 of Discs, which they've still got the winter there. Some of these scenes are more agricultural. I really like her take on it. It's kind of individual. Sort of mixing into different settings now. Wow. I said I didn't like big faces, but that's so big that it's actually amazing, isn't it? Look at that eye. Ocean. An ocean of emotion. Wow. Okay, this is just a flick through of many decks, not just to focus on this one. So I'm going to have to move that one on. And it is lovely, lovely om. And the om is supposed to contain everything. So, and it contains a lot, doesn't it? I don't usually go for drawstring bags, but that one's rather beautiful. And lovely, a lovely thought to give with the deck. Now this one I thought would be very interesting because these two decks actually remind me of each other rather a lot, because this one's got illustrated pips, the Renaissance Tarot, and I have a whole video on this one for those who want to know more. Take the significator cards out. But there's something about them that I just find sort of goes together. It's rather similar. That's the backs on that. And I love the gold effect on this deck. And this is rather its own scheme. It doesn't stick to any specific occult system, so to speak. It's not Golden Dawn. It's an illustrated pip, but kind of its own influenced ideas. Again, a bit of a mix of mythology and Christianity. Two of coins and the moon. The 5 of coins and the sun. Just get onto the pips. Knight of Staves and the 6 of Batons. Wow, I do love that ace. It's Julius Caesar. So that's that one. I won't spend too long because I have done a whole video on that, but I think we get the sense of those two going together. This one's out of print, but I thought I'd give it a go anyway. A few people might have it. The Cosmic Tarot, and there's a few sort of pictures that are used to base. He was inspired by various sort of photos to base his pictures on. That's the backs. Nice. And there's the lovely High Priestess. The Emperor. I think that's Charles, isn't it? From the Carolingian Empire. Carolingian. Charlemagne. Yeah, I think that's Charlemagne. I have to have a look at a picture. It looks a bit like Charlemagne anyway. Interesting Hierophant. Oh, I think that's, I don't know, looks a bit like Rocky or something, but I think there were a few kind of well-known movies and stills from them that we used in this deck. It's a bit, reminds me, there was a book called Rebecca's World when I was a child, and something about this dotted art that kind of reminds me something of that in a way. Wheel of Fortune. Yeah, she's definitely, she looks a bit like Princess Leia or something, but I can't remember who she is. Some people have gone through and found the photos that go with these. That's an oh, I was thinking, she's looking at it like, oh, I don't want to look. I don't want to look. Like, what is she pouring in there? Is it not just water? A crane in the background there. Heron or something. Crane, maybe. And the star, again, is looking away from where she's pouring her things on the lilies. Child, oh my goodness. I had a page boy haircut in the 70s. That my mum used to cut my hair and my sister's hair, and our fringes, though, were never quite as straight as that. It was always a bit wonky, possibly partly because my hair is not that prolific, but I always seem to get long bits and gaps. She's rather interesting world. So there's Bogart or something, maybe? I'm not sure. It's like Bogart and Laura Bacall. I'm not very good on my film stars, I have to say. Ballet dancers. So there we have the Cosmic Tarot. And that was my last one. But I am feeling like I've wound down now from my day and enjoyed looking through some of these cards. So hope you have too. And there's also someone stopped in their car having a loud conversation. So it's probably a good time for me to stop off. And hope you've enjoyed some of these pairings. And I will see you again for another video that's perhaps a little bit more thought through. But I enjoyed doing this, and hopefully you enjoyed having a look at it as well. So bye for now, guys. Bye.